Good morning, everyone. Old Man Sarge here. I recorded a video last night, and I'm the one that messed up because I didn't realize that I hadn't deafened the voices or the Discord. So I didn't know that when I was talking, the people I was listening to in Discord and our guild were also talking. So it really kind of was messed up video. And so that's why I'm re-recording it today. But there's something else that's interesting. So one of the things that I don't know why, it's kind of like, why did Magellan, why did he circumnavigate the world? Why did, I don't know, some of the early explorers try to get there, be the first ones to find the the Strait of North America, where there's supposedly a way to go across the Arctic Ocean. Why did a lot of these people, like Lewis and Clark or countless others, want to go see new lands to themselves, And I don't know what it is. I'm not saying that I'm on par with these people by any stretch. But as far as a game perspective, you'll notice that right now my elf is in Thornfast. And I did the same thing when I played EverQuest so many years ago. One of the things before I settled down and really started leveling was I just wanted to see the world and to try to get my character someplace where you wouldn't expect the character to be. And so that's why I traveled through all those different dangerous zones and didn't, I would die, but it was just I would come back and try again. And I just kept doing it until I succeeded. And that's what I'd done. So I went through Wild's End, into the Eastern Plains, into the Silent Plains, into Aventine's Pass, and over here into Thornfast. Why? Why does somebody climb the mountain? Just because it's there, right? And I really wanted to see these places as soon as I could. I didn't want to wait till I was level 40 or 30 or whatever to enter some of these zones. And it's almost kind of like what I want to do, just to say I've done it, just to say I've been I've been to that zone or those zones at a low level. So I went through all this danger to get here. How many times did I die? I'm trying to think. How many times? It would have been 4 or 5, probably. But the thing is every time I would I would die, I would just say, geez, if I just did that a little different. If I just went over here instead of over there. If I waited just a little bit longer for whatever guard or whatever to pass by, then I would have been fine. I would have cleared that obstacle. And so it was one of these things where I just got progressively more determined and progressively more I kept thinking about, even though I really shouldn't have done it, I just kept thinking about all the different possibilities, and if I could just push it just a little bit further. And to go back to the explorations perspective, the Portuguese they really explored, for the Europeans anyway, Africa, and they just kept sailing down Africa more and more and more and more, and eventually they completely went around the Cape, the Cape, and but you can say the same for a lot of these other European countries during the exploration days of exploration. They did kind of the same thing, and I kind of did that myself. So I don't know. I don't really want to show anybody how I did it. For the reason I don't is because, this game's only been available to us for a couple days, and I don't want, and it's not easy, by the way. The traverse is not easy, and I don't think I could do it backwards, or I don't know, maybe I could figure it out backwards. But the problem is that you're having to climb up and come down in certain areas, and I can maybe do those areas one direction because I've done them. But if I had to come back the other direction, I would probably have to find a different route, and I could do it. Like, I could probably figure it out, but to find that different route would take me a lot of time. So I don't want to ruin it. Like, I don't want the people who are developing the game to, we've got to change this and change that, and I don't want to force them into having to make adjustments. I think that people should, like myself, should have the ability or opportunity to explore and get to different places, and make it dangerous. That's fine, but they really should have the chance to do it. And so I kind of feel like if I disclose to the public how I accomplish this, the developers are probably going to then go, okay, well then in our next patch we'll just close these off, right? And I don't really want that to happen because I want somebody else to have the same chance that I did, or a chance to, if they want to take the time and the caution, because it wasn't all like, I'm just going to run here. It was like, you had to be really careful in certain areas. You had to change your thinking, your thinking process. And you look at the cliffs, and you look at the, you're just looking all around trying to figure out, like, okay, well, I can't get by this area. Well, if I climb over here, and I don't want to prove. I think this is proof enough. I didn't just teleport here, right? Nobody can teleport right now, as far as I know. So I physically got across all of those zones to get to this location. So there's a few things that I've noticed that were changed from the last time I played by the developers. Some pretty big changes, actually. I'm not going to go into what they were, how they affected me, because I don't really want to tell everybody how I did this. And again, if I can do it, there's many people out there smarter than me that could do it. I just have this dedication, or I don't know what you want to call it, just this drive that I want to accomplish something with my character. And one of the things I wanted to accomplish was what I just did. Get from one end of the world to the other. I did the same thing in EverQuest. Back then we didn't have videos to show it, and my other players were leveling and I wasn't. I was out trying to get from one end of the world to the other. But I also want to talk about something else that I that I have mentioned in the past. I've talked about in the past, and a lot of people complain or have said that it took this game so long to come out, and this is not really completed yet, don't get me wrong, but to get to the point that it is. And I think that they don't quite understand like how much stuff has happened in the back office, the background, to really appreciate it. And I'm going to talk about at least one of those things that has to do with what I accomplished today, because it's like it became even more apparent. Became more apparent when I made this track, when I tried to get over here, or I accomplished it. So when they design a zone, and I'm not a designer, I'm not going to say that I know 100% how this is all thought of in the background, but it's something that I've noticed. So if you're going to design a zone for players to get into, a lot of developers will design the zone with set pieces, like, what's going to be in that zone? Well, we're going to have a keep. We're going to have a manor, with ghosts in it. We're going to have, I don't know, a dungeon. Or we're going to have something like a dragon. I don't know. Okay, so, and I'm going to kind of talk about EverQuest just a little bit on this subject. So when EverQuest came out, they had these set pieces in the zone as well. Not in every zone, but in quite a few of them they had set pieces. But because maybe in the day when they designed the game, those set pieces were, you could only do enough, certain amount of that of having, like your zone could only be so big, just because of your computing technology, or all the different things that you had to deal with back in 1999 or 1996, I think, when they started that project, right? And it just seemed like there wasn't much between some of these set pieces. Like, you didn't have to go very far. You'd go from one set piece to another set piece, because they just didn't have like a lot of ability, I think, back then to make the vastness of the zone just feel like, oh my gosh, it's like the jungle is huge, or the forest is huge, or the plains are vast. And so a lot of games have kind of followed that, even the newer games, and I go back to what I said a long time ago in one of my earlier videos about Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. They basically said, a lot of the earlier games, and some even the later ones, well, people are just going to go into an instance and just, pop into whatever zone they want, or they're going to get on a mount. And so we really don't have to design a huge zone. We just design these set piece things that people are trying to get to within the zone. But whether they run to them or whether they take their mount, there's not going to be a ton of difference in time, because there's really no need for us to build out a big forest or a big swamp or whatever, a big plains. There's no reason for us to do that, because people are just going to jump on their mounts, or they're just going to do whatever. And so let's just make it set piece to set piece. And I think you understand where I'm going on this. So what Pantheon has done, and I think it's people really are not going to think about it or visualize it in their minds until they actually play the game, for a little while anyway. But what Pantheon has done is Pantheon has built a lot of forest between set pieces, between changes of the environment. They built a lot of plains. I can tell you that. They built a lot of plains. The vastness of the world, you feel it. Now, if you look at the map of where Wild's End is, like even the southern portion of Wild's End, and if you think about the distance between that and Eastern Plains, and then the shortest distance between the Eastern Plains and Silent Plains, and then the shortest distance from Silent Plains to Aventine Pass, which I just want to make sure I'm calling it right here. Let's see. Avendir's Pass. So you can see I'm in Avendir's Pass now with my elf, level 7. If you look at the maps, the colored maps that you can find on their website, that distance isn't very long, like between those areas. It isn't very long. It isn't very huge, right? Especially between like Eastern Plains and Silent Plains and Aventine Pass. The distance isn't long. So you can see that the map, I didn't even touch hardly any of that map for Silent Plains. Very, very little on the Eastern Plains. And it took me a long time to run through each one of those. And even though that distance was really short. So they've created something, I think. I mean, I'm just hypothesizing right now because I'm not, I'm not behind the scenes. I'm just experiencing it. I don't know 100% what they've done or how it looks because I haven't seen everything, obviously. But they've created a pretty big world. And so when people talk about, the game in development for 10 years, there's just some stuff that's like, I don't want to call it dead space, but in a lot of other games it would be considered dead space. But they've created it here, this vastness of this world, to give you, the player, the feeling that you truly are in some huge world. And even if they did add mounts, even if they did add, like, people could instance zones or something, although I think that would be, to me, that would be just like killing your own game, right? In my opinion, if you do that for the people who are like dedicated to want to play it. I'm not talking about for the whole population of the world or gamers in general. But even if you did that, the world's still huge. Even if you had to do something like that, world's still huge. It's still big. So I get the feeling that, and this is only from my experience in Wild's End, that the Elf City that you start out in, I call it the Elf City because it's up in the trees, but I think elves and halflings start there. I think it's down like the southern, towards the southern end of Wild's End. I don't know for 100% sure, but it seems that way. It seems much vaster or much more land mass north of that Elf City. So I get the feeling that the Elf City is a little bit further to the south. Maybe it's like, I don't know, 40% or 30% south of the central line. Let's see, 10 or 20%, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. It's like if I took percentages from 0 to 100, 100 being the north part of the zone, 0 being the south part of the zone, I would say that the Elf City sits around 30 to 40%, somewhere in there maybe, of that zone. So you feel like you have just a long ways to go. And I'm not going to show where there's multiple paths, just to let you know, in Wild Zen to reaching Eastern Plains. And I found one that was a box canyon. My corpse is still there. Corpse is still in that box canyon. I don't know. I don't think they did. I don't know if the developers intended on that or not, but I have to tell that story because I think it's really funny. As there's the zone has a one area that you definitely, it's easier to, like, I made it more difficult than it had to be. So there's one area that's easier for the players to get through, but there's this one spot further off to one end, further off, I'm not going to say left or right, but further off to one direction or the other, and you sneak through, which is what I did. I got through, and you look around and you're in this box canyon, and I didn't look around for secret caves or anything like that. I just looked around and I was like, I'm in this box canyon in Eastern Plains. My corpse is still there. If anybody wants to go find it and you want to resurrect me, I'm right there, right? But so what happened was, I got to this one location. I was being really careful. I even had it like this is when people were talking, and I didn't realize that my video and my audio were really bad. Like, my audio was really bad because I had multiple people talking, and I apologize to my guild for that very much. But I got to this one part, and I'm like, I look, and I thought I saw a gap, like, between creatures, like snakes and orcs and stuff like that. So there's orcs and snakes and stuff. And I'm like, I think if I can just shoot right through this gap, that the bad guys on the right, the bad guys on the left won't, like, get triggered, and I'll be okay. And if I just wait a little bit, I'll wait for this one to go this way and this one to go this way, and then I'll have a better chance just to shoot through the gap, right? And so they kind of go their way, like I was hoping, and I was like, alright, I gotta do it. And so I just started running, and I ran between them. I got through, and I'm like, scot-free, right? Except I'm not, like, in a safe area still. I'm out in the middle of the jungle. It's just I got past those two, and I'm kind of running blind because there's trees, and jungle grass and all that. And I come over this little hill or whatever, and there was a snake right there, and it's like, it got me, right? Like, it's so close, but I still had my stamina bar, so I'm like, I'm just gotta run, and I gotta hope I can run into Eastern Plains. And so the snake's after me, I'm running, my stamina is running down, and the snake's like right on my butt, and and he starts hitting me, and my health's just dropping like mad, because, like, I'm level 7, and those creatures, I don't know what level they are, but they're red, so they're quite a bit higher than me. And, like, I'm down to like 5% of my health. 5%. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to release here and try it again, because I know I'm going to do it. And just then, I zone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so close. I just zoned into Eastern Plains. So I zone into Eastern Plains. I got, 5% life. I run in a little bit. I look around. I sit down. I get all my health back. And I'm like, oh, man. I finally made it to Eastern Plains. And I actually, like, showed everybody on the camera, or on the, like I just did here, like, hey, look, I'm in Eastern Plains. Come on. And so I'm pretty happy about it. Like, I accomplished it, right? accomplished my goal. Like I'm in Avendeer's Pass. That's kind of what I did with Eastern Plains on my video that I had to delete because of my mistake. And so I'm sitting in Eastern Plains in this box canyon, and you can see it. You can see what I'm talking about if you get there. On any server, I think, obviously. I come back from the box canyon and I look around, and here's this campfire. Now I'm thinking that in a lot of places you'll see campfire and there's nobody around it, right? And it's sitting there. It says campfire. It doesn't say campfire, but it's just a campfire. I don't see anything around it. Now I'm on the side of the zone line of Eastern Plains. Just keep that in mind. I'm looking at this campfire. I don't know which zone it's in. It could be in Eastern Plains. It could be in Wild's End. I don't know. But it's really close to the zone line. And I thought, you know what? I'll just run down to that fire real quick and just inspect it, check it out, right? Because I'm in Eastern Plains. I'll just check out things before I zone back in, try to find my way to get to the real Eastern Plains. Well, as soon as I zone, orcs popped, like they were there. Because in Wild's End, there's orcs. Eastern Plain, there's no orcs. So, I mean, one of the things that developers might want to do is actually, like, maybe put, I don't know, maybe they don't want to put orcs in both. Because if you put orcs in both, people that want to kill them will just keep zoning back and forth to kill them and then go back and kill the other ones in the other camp, I guess. That might be a bad idea. But maybe they would want to do something like, I don't know, show a picture of an orc or something. I don't know. I don't know what you do. But, so there's orcs in Wild's End, but there's not orcs in Eastern Plains. But when you're in Eastern Plains, you're looking out and you see orcs. Or you don't see orcs. You see it's clear. But when you get there, nope, they're there. And that's so they killed me. But they killed me just as I zoned in. So my body's inside of Eastern Plains. So, anyway, I just thought it was funny. I'm not mad at anybody. It's just, it's just kind of a funny little thing that happened. Now, I want to explain Explorer and Trade Company. I think that's the name of the guild. It's ETC. Explorer Trade Company. Maybe that's the name of it. But I don't know if there's like ands or anything in there, but it's Explorer Trade Company. And the way that I met up with this guild, as this is something else I want to talk about, is I was down by fighting some geckos, trying to get some levels or whatever in Wild's End with my elf wizard here. And I've always, this is why I said that I should not play the wizard for my challenge, because like my challenges, and I have it on my my necromancer, because I'm a lot more like cautious, and I hope that I won't start trying to push the envelope on my necromancer, because I know that's going to be like the end of me. As soon as I do that, it's going to be like, okay, that character's dead, reroll, right? So what I try to do with my wizard is I really try to push what I could take, because they have the capability of doing that. They've got a lot of power in their magical spells. So I'll not just take whites, I'll take yellows. Now maybe I could take an orange, but I don't even try oranges. I'm talking about the con of the color of the con when you actually go and look at it, just in case somebody doesn't know. So let's see. There's a wolf over here, or a bear or something I can click on. There's a bear right there. I can barely see in the dark. So here's the bear, right? So I con him. He's blue. And it says down here that he's prepared to attack you. Those are very important, by the way, if you're trying to get from Wild's End over here at level 7. Is that you need to con a lot of these things that you're going around or going through, because it'll really help you in determining, like, is this creature gonna try to stop me if I'm coming across or not. So anyway, so I try to find things when I'm trying to level that are like yellow to me, maybe white, and then when I run out of those, because I level for my wizard, then I look for some other spot to do that in, and I just keep like ratcheting it up. That's what I do with my wizard, and I don't really care about much else. Like if I die, I'm not overly concerned about it because I'm making up for that death. As far as the time to how fast you level and stuff, I'm making up for that death with higher level experience, and I think that should be the way it is. You're basically a glass cannon with the wizard, and so you need to try to kill whatever. If you're doing it by yourself, you need to kill whatever creature well before it gets to you. But you're probably not going to kill them all, so you're like, I've got to measure how much life I have to give up to be able to kill that creature. And so I was pushing myself. I was finding in Wild's End all the different places that I'd be looking at, like a pretty good mix of yellow and white cons that I could fight, right? And I found them. Like I ran around. I would kill stuff while I was doing it, but once I found some creatures that were kind of right in there with my level, like right now they'd be like 7 and 8, kind of that's what I'm looking for. Then I would go, okay, I'm going to go ahead and fight here. So I was fighting these geckos, but again, I died. I died here fighting the geckos. I'm like, well, maybe there's a better place to fight them over here. Maybe I can fight them over here. And of course, I try to run a little bit, and I die because they'd get me, So I've got like 3 or 4 corpses lying around in this gecko area that are mine, like that I haven't gone and picked up. Sometimes I would get that corpse, I'd pick up some stuff, and then pick up my items and stuff off of that corpse, but I couldn't get them all, so I'd have to leave the corpse behind until I could get back to town to sell, to come back and clean the rest off my corpse. So I had 3 or 4 of these, like, I don't know what you call them, let's call them banks. Corpse banks. I don't know what else to call them. So these corpse banks are laying around. Well, I get this message when I'm, like, I don't know, far away, but not too far away from where they res me. This res message, and I'm like, okay, sure, thank you very much for resing me. We'll take the experience. So they resurrect me, and the guild's like, you have a lot of corpses around here. I go, yeah. And they said, do you want to join our guild? Which is weird, because think of that. Somebody who is exhibiting that they're dying a lot, and you want to invite them into your guild, right? And so I said, sure. And so I got into the guild, and I got into guild chat. And they said to me, we thought you'd be a good fit for the guild because we die a lot too. And so I was thinking, man, these folks probably push it too. Like, there's some people in this guild that are like wanting to do things that they are, that their characters may be like at the limit of what their abilities or their knowledge or whatever it is. So they're probably like my personality. They're like explorers. And that's what that's one of the aspects of this game, is to have people who want to go out and look at the world. Some people want to go out and look at the world and then tell everybody about it. I don't really know if I want to go out and look at the world and tell everybody about it. Now, I did tell people, that I met before the last time they wiped about excuse me, wow, if they wanted to go see Haldir's cave, because I had found it, and I thought maybe if I could get maybe a couple other people, we might be able to go do the entrance or something to it. We couldn't. It was too difficult for us. But anyway, so that's one of the times I'll do it, but I'm doing it in game. I'm like, they invite me to join the group, and then I'm like, hey, do you want to go over here? So I'll try to do and share things with people on an individual basis, but I don't want to broadcast it. I don't want to make a map for everybody. I don't want to broadcast it. I think the fun of it is finding things on your own. You might find a different path, a better path. You might find a different philosophy than I have, or a better way of managing your character. Like, look at all these different spells here. And I read about, I don't know if I read or I listened to somebody else's YouTube channel. Excuse me. And they were talking about how some of these like spells that you use, like it weakens. Like this one here says, put your target in the opening gap state for 30 seconds. Duration impact by diminishing returns. The opening gap state can be manipulated by other techniques to cause additional effects. So, and I'll leave that up so you can read it and try to understand what they're talking about, what that means. Because it's like, why, this is not a damage spell. What is this? It's like a debuff? Well, no. Supposedly, your character, when you're in a group, will be able to do something that will enhance another character's ability, and then they will be able to do something that might enhance it further. So you might get like 2 of these debuffs, we'll call them debuff spells, on something to reduce its effectiveness, right? And then maybe your casters will be able to burn it down easier, or maybe your warriors will be able to tank it down, or your rogues be able to to melee it down, or whatever your damage melee classes might be, or your better ones. And so what's going to happen is there's going to be groups out there, and I'm not sure how good I'm going to be at it. I'm going to try, but there's going to be groups out there that are going to master these. And so you might have a group of players that can take on a mini boss that other people are going to hit it with a raid, with 20 players. But you might have a group that's so good, so well equipped, and so knowledgeable of how they can utilize these different spell effects that they're going to be able to like work together as a team and I don't know what you call it, but exponentially make their classes more powerful because of how they're utilizing these different abilities. Now for me, I'm not going to use this. Like if I probably won't use it unless I can figure it out. When I fight solo, I'm not going to use these. These are more like building for groups. Maybe I could do it solo. Like I have this focus. As you see, the symbol on this is like it's like a magic symbol, and here's your magic symbol down here. And then here's ice, and then here's an ice one over here. Because this says off balance. It's the same thing as this one, but it's different. It's frost. This one is force. So these are going to have different, this one might, I don't know. This one might enhance your ability to fight melee better. This one might enhance your ability to fight magic better. And I might actually have gotten those right, I don't know. So what I'm telling you is there are going to be people that are going to be much better at group fighting than probably myself. So, and I think that's one of the things that I can say that's a positive about me, is that I recognize that I'm not the best at like anything. I'm good at some things, but there's going to be somebody out there that's better than me, and so I'm always trying to learn and take up what they're doing to try to make myself better, make myself a better asset for the group or whatever. And then the idea is that if everybody is like doing the same thing with their characters, then they can be a better group. But let's go back real quick to the guild, Explorers Trading Company. So I get in the guild, and that's what they tell me, is that I don't know if they just said that hey, we're trying to increase our numbers and we just saw you and we'll try you out for a while unless you kill the parties all the time or something. I don't know. But I would listen to them in Discord because they allowed me to get in their Discord and listen to them. And they're doing the same thing I was doing. Like, they're exploring, they're pushing the limits of what they can do. You know, I don't know if they want to be the first or they just want to see if they can do something. So I thought this is a perfect fit for me anyway. You know, I'll be able to enhance the guild, I guess, I hope. And they'll be able to help me, I hope. So hopefully we'll have a nice fit. As far as like, do I care about like loot and all that sort of stuff? At some point I probably will. I don't really care about it now. Now it's more about exploring the world and having different experiences. But here's the important thing. And I've tried to illustrate this in my other videos. To me, this is all the things I just told you are stories. Me going from Wild's End to Thornfast is a story. You know, it's a story of adventure. It's a story of you know, going up against hardships. It's a story of you know, I don't know, being cautious and not always being aggressive, but being very cautious and careful, and then sometimes just booking it. You know, like depending on the situation. And when you group with people, you're going to be creating stories with that group, with that experience and that dungeon. And they may be a bad story, but they may be really good too. You know, you may click with some group, and it just may be like, this is really cool. And so that's, to me, what ultimately games like this are about, is the stories that you create with yourself and the world created by developers and with other players. And the big advantage of Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, versus like other games, is a story isn't written for you. There are some stories here, don't get me wrong. You know, there's stories in the lore. There's stories in the dungeons you go to. You know, there's stories in some quests that you'll run across. But honestly, the biggest stories are going to be created with people, because it's intentionally a difficult world. And because it's intentionally difficult, you're going to probably find that yes, there's a challenge in soloing, don't get me wrong, but you're going to find that you're going to have as much of a challenge going to some of these group content places, locations, with other people. And I'm just hoping that your story will be as good as the story that I've unfolded for my characters here. So Seerensey, he's had an incredible story so far. He has traversed the entire world, known world, in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, and he's done it at level 7. Now he can settle down a little bit, me, and do some leveling and get himself up higher so that I can have the next story, whatever that might be, exploring another portion of the world. You know, I'd like to get high enough to go into Eastern Plains or into Silent Plains and just see what that world, not just the edges or the areas that I kind of just ran through, but I can actually enjoy it. There is a really cool overlook in that I saw in Silent Plains. So if you're in Silent Plains, look for this overlook. It's really cool. And it's like you're almost going through a cave, right? You're thinking maybe it's a cave. Maybe this is like the zone line. It seemed like I wasn't there long enough for it to be the zone line, but maybe it is. I don't know. And I traversed and I traversed and I traversed and I climbed and I got up. And I got up on this bench. And I'm up there and I'm looking at Silent Plains. And I thought, that's where I should start my video. That's what I was thinking at the time. I thought I should video this location because it's so cool looking. You can see the vastness of the plains below you. And you're up high. You can see kind of where you came from, like where you traversed before you found this, I don't know, cave or gorge or whatever. So if you do decide to traverse it, maybe don't show people how you did it, but when you get to that location, take a screenshot. You know, I'm here. Look, I'm looking down at the Silent Plains. You know, and maybe showing this. Like, do a screenshot if you want to do what I did that shows this. Like, that your character is actually there. And I think that I would encourage anybody who might do what I'm doing to not show everybody everything, but to show them the end result, I guess, and the story behind it, and be vague. And that way they can go explore and have the same experience. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to say how I did what I did. I'm not going to talk about the difficulties I had, how many times I died. So anyway, that's all I'm going to do for today. Now I'll go back on and do another video with my necromancer, because I want to try to like keep that one going, so you can see, you'll be able to see me hopefully not dying, seeing how far I can go. But for now, I'm gonna do a little bit more with this character and enjoy the fruits of my labor, the traveling from one end of the world to the other. So thank you very much for watching. We'll talk with you next time.